So, welcome back to this video. This is the second part of this series, and if you haven't watched the first part, please watch that. I strongly recommend that. And if you have already watched the first part, welcome back. And in this one, we are going to handle the login. As you remember from our earlier video, from the first part, we were trying to log into Instagram and it showed us the error of wrong credentials, even though our username and password are correct. And that is because Instagram detects automation behavior. It detects whether the person logging in is a robot or a real person or a automated browser. And if it detects that it is an automated browser, then it just cancels the login request. It doesn't give any reply. It just throws away the request and just tells us to shut up and tells us that our credentials are wrong, even though they are correct. Because no website likes crawlers. I mean, they like crawlers, but they don't like web scrapers, they don't like automators, and they don't like bots. And that's exactly what we're doing. So we will be bypassing that. So what we can do is we can use cookies. So here we can search for what are cookies in HTTP. And as you would see, HTTP cookies are small blocks of data created by a web server while a user is browsing a website placed on the user's computer. As you can see, it is created by the web server and it stays on the user's computer. So it will be on our computer. So how do web cookies work? So here's a little example. Simply, you have this browser that has no login of Instagram.com. You are not logged in to Instagram on this browser. As you can see, no login. I'm sorry. And it sends a GET request. It goes to Instagram.com and Instagram checks the headers. And by default, the headers do not contain any cookies. So headers with empty cookies. And then what Instagram will do, it will return by default the login page. So it is going to return the login page because there are no cookies. So Instagram knows that this user is not logged in and it will return the login page. As we would see if we make a GET request through a incognito tab where we are not logged in, obviously. So we are greeted with a login page. But what happens if we make a request or go to Instagram.com through a logged in browser? Then our cookies are shared in the headers. So as I can demonstrate it here, we can So I open the network tab. I click on this preserve log. So this will preserve all the logs that are happening. So let's just close this and click here. So as you would see, it sent a GET request to, let me just make this bigger. So Instagram.com, it sent a GET request to Instagram and response headers. These are the headers for the GET request, and these are all the cookies that were previously stored on the browser. It just sent these cookies along with the GET request. As you can see, cookie. This is how a website knows if this user is authenticated previously, and it knows that which account the website needs to provide the user and which accounts does the user own, and it just gives us the Instagram homepage. As we can see here, this is the Instagram homepage and this is my feed. So we are gonna use the same behavior with our app. I can close this one for now and let's come back to our app. So here we are logging in using the browser automation. We can remove all of this and we will be using a new concept. We can also remove the sleep method and we will be extracting the cookies from Instagram after logging in ourselves. We will put our username and password by ourselves by typing it through the keyboard to prevent our flag as a automation browser. So we can just use a new method that will be new dash context. It will create a context and we can store it in a context variable, and we can use that context to create a new page. So context.new page. And now we have the page, we have a new method that is context. So what will be the use of this context? This will provide us better control over our browser and over our current page. So we can do tasks like extracting cookies, for example. That is what we're going to do. So here I will add a simple input tag. Enter something to continue execution. So this will pause the execution until we enter something in our console. So we need that because when we load the Instagram.com, we will put our credential by ourselves, click on the login button, and then we will be greeted by the home page. And then there will be cookies saved on our browser web page. And using this method, we will be extracting cookies. So cookies are saved. So continue execution. So after this, we are going to extract the cookies by using simply context.cookies. This method will extract the cookies of the current page. And furtherly, we can store these cookies inside a cookies.txt file. We'll open it in write mode and just write the contents of the cookies variable inside it. So currently there is no such file, cookies.txt, but don't worry, it will create it on its own. So now that we have done all that, I think we are ready to execute this code. Firstly, it will go to Instagram and then it will halt the execution until we log in, and then when we did the login process, we will input something inside our console, and then it will get the cookies, it will store the cookies, and that's it. We won't need to log in ourselves manually anymore. So I'll save this and I'll simply run it. So we are going to Instagram and we will be greeted by a login page as usual, but here the execution should pause still, yet the page is loading, and yep, enter something to continue execution. So we will just enter our credentials here. And I'll enter my password. You can paste the password, but you need to type the username in order to let Instagram know that I am a real person. You need to simulate like a real person, and then we click on login. And as you can see, now it's doing the login process. Now we are inside. We are greeted by our home page, and we can just skip that, but we don't need to do that since the cookies are already saved on our browser. As you would see here, cookies and site data, and we have 2 cookies from Instagram.com already. We can delete them, but first we need to extract them. So we can just simply type yes. So we got this error that says that the right variable needs a string, but it's getting a list. So basically the cookies variable contains list of dictionaries or array of objects, and the .write method expects a string. So we can simply perform a type conversion by using the str method to convert this to a string. So now that we have saved this, we can run it again and simulate the login again. And now that we have logged in, we have the cookies here. We can simply type yes here, and it will extract the cookies from the browser, and it will close the browser. And now our cookies.txt will contain all the data cookies that we need to bypass the login. So for that, we can simply clear our console, and now Now that every time we go to Instagram.com, we don't need to log in, we don't need to do anything like that. So we can just delete all this, or maybe comment all of this. We can comment this out and move this below the code here, because we don't need that code anymore. And now we will go to Instagram, we will wait for the network to be idle, and then we will add the cookies to the page. So we can again use the context method to add the cookies that we have in our cookies.txt to our page. But first we will need to extract those cookies. So we can just simply do that by using the same method with open cookies.txt, opening it in read mode as file, and then file.read, and save it inside cookies variable. And we'll also need to perform a type conversion. Now it's a string, and we will need to convert it to a list of dictionaries. For that we can use the AST module, which will simply let us form a simple type conversion. So we can do something like this: array-cookies equal ast.literalEval that takes a string as an input. So this will basically convert string to list that contains objects or dictionaries. And now we can simply add array cookies to our existing page, and then we will need to reload the page in order for the cookies to take effect. So we can add the cookies to the page. Firstly, we will use a print statement to let us know that we are adding the cookies, and then we can use the same context method and add cookies method, and it takes a list of dictionaries that we have right here. And then we can reload the page again by simply going again to Instagram.com, basically this statement again. So it is simply like reloading or reloading the page. And now we will be logged in by default. And we can also capture the screenshot, and we can also wait for the network to be idle. So page.wait for load state, and then network idle. So this will wait for the page to load, and we can save this and we can run this, and hopefully it will work. Firstly, we will go to Instagram by default on the login page, and then it will add those cookies, as you can see here, writing cookies, and it reloaded the page. And now we are on our home page without any login, without any username password, just by using our cookies. We are able to log into Instagram and bypass the login. So now that we are able to log in, we can simply go to our Reels tab of a specific creator and extract everything that we need from there. So now that we are able to bypass the login without any errors, we can start working on our main scraper project that will be scraping the data from a particular Instagram account. So let's go to this Instagram account. Here I am logged in, and we need to go to this URL, or maybe specifically /reels URL, and we need to extract all this data. We will need all these elements, all these tags, and we won't need the script tags. We won't need them. We will just need the body tag, and the body contains the script tag. So we can just simply save the whole HTML of the page after we go to /reels, and then perform our actions on that data. So our main priority first will be to get the whole data from the page. So get all the page and save it as .html file in our folder, and then we could use other libraries to process that data and filter out the things that we need. such as likes, comments, and views, and also the URL of that particular reel. So let's do that. So first we will need to go to this URL, and for that we will define a username. So I'll just copy this URL, and at the start I'll just define it as a global variable. URL equals instagram.com Diljit Dosanjh, and then we will, after we go to instagram.com, add the cookies. We will go directly to that URL. Instead of reloading the page and landing on the home page again, we will go to the URL, and that will land us to this page. Now we will need to extract the HTML contents of this page. So we can just do something like this. To extract the HTML contents of a page in Playwright, we can use a method that is page.content. This will get not context but content. This will get us the content of the current page. As you can see, gets the full HTML contents of the page, including the doc type. So it will get all of these elements and all the data inside them. So this whole page with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then we will need to save this inside an index.html file. So we can do the same. We can say html equal, and then we can do the same thing. Index.html file, we'll create that and open it in write mode, and then file.write, convert it to string, and then save it in this file. So let's try that. We can perform all of this after the page has done loading. So that was a mistake. Otherwise we'll only get half the HTML. So we will have to wait for the page to calm down and become idle before extracting the HTML content. So let's go. We can run again main.py, and I think I forgot to save it, so I'll save it and then we'll run it again. And at first we will go to Instagram as usual, and there, after the page is loaded, we will be writing the cookies as you would see it here. So the page is loaded and writing cookies, and then reload the page to the Diljit Dosanjh Reels, the URL that we provided at the top. And then it will wait for this page to load. And after it's done loading, it will extract the HTML content of this whole page. So there was some error, I guess. Char map codec can't encode. So we got this error while we were trying to save our HTML code inside index.html. And this tells us that the HTML variable contains some data that is not UTF-8, that is in some other codec and cannot be encoded or decoded. It's an error that tells that we cannot save the data to a file. So converting it to a string could not help. It won't help. So we can just add a new parameter to the open function, and we can define the encoding type that we want to use, specifically UTF-8. So that is the default for text documents and other text-based file extensions such as .html. Now, before running the code, we need to make sure one thing. This takes a encoding type. So we need to add encoding equal to before typing UTF-8. And now we are ready to run our program. So I'll just say Python main.py, and let's go. It will reload the page again to our initial URL. That will be the Reels URL of that creator, and it will wait for the page to load. The page is still loading. It will wait for the network to become idle, and once the network becomes idle, it will get the HTML content and save it in index.html file. So now that if we open index.html, it will have a lot of content. As you can see, it has a lot of code. This all code has been scraped or extracted from our Instagram website. And this is the whole HTML. It contains all the elements, all the tags, all the text. So if we try to view this page locally, like this, we will, let me stop this, the reload. If we try to load the page locally, we can see the number of posts, the number of followers, and the number of likes. Like right here, the number of likes, comments, and the number of views, like we see here. When I hover over it, it disappears, but it is right there. Now, one problem that you might have noticed on this page, that we don't have all the reels. We have just the beginning of few reels, 4 reels, and the 4 reels has 3 lines. So we have just a few reels. We do not have all the reels, but we do need all the reels. So I feel like this video has become long enough and it covered a major topic. So I guess we can solve this problem of extracting all the reels and making sure that we do not have just a few reels but all the reels in the next video. So stay tuned. Please like, share and subscribe to the channel for more such content. It really helps us put more effort. So thank you for watching again. See you next time.